In this video, I will show you how even a beginner can immediately start generating and feeling qi, life force energy. I will also explain specific methods to strengthen your energy center and chakras to unlock your potential and improve your overall fortune. By watching this, you will not only gain a deep sensation of qi, but also learn how to significantly transform your life for the better. You can expect positive shifts in various areas, such as professional success, romantic luck, and improved relationships. Please stay with me until the end to master both the basics and advanced applications of QiGong. The video is structured as follows. In the first half, I will explain the mechanisms of QiGong and the fundamental techniques of self-healing to balance your inner state. In the second half, we will dive into specific exercises using self-healing. These practices are designed to sharpen your mind and enhance your learning abilities. I will also discuss how to achieve consistent results at work and maintain high motivation toward your goals. Furthermore, we will explore how to identify your inner core, your life's axis and primary theme. The content is designed to awaken your latent potential and eventually elevate your abilities to a genius level. Whether you are purely interested in QiGong or focused on personal development, the second half of this video holds immense value, so please don't miss it. This is a comprehensive session, so I encourage you to watch it repeatedly to steadily increase your energy levels. It is often said that QiGong offers numerous benefits, such as improving your fortune, enhancing health, and even promoting rejuvenation. However, many people struggle with doubts like, is this actually working? Or am I practicing the techniques correctly? Even if you have a strong desire to acquire incredible power or sense the flow of energy, it's easy to get stuck in a loop, either not knowing the right way to practice or trying various methods without ever feeling a tangible result. When people don't feel the energy right away, they often try to force it by telling themselves they just need more intense visualization. Unfortunately, the harder you try to force it, the harder it becomes to distinguish between a real result and a mere delusion. This leads many to give up, believing that QiGong requires some sort of innate genius they don't possess. But please understand, wanting to gain great abilities but feeling lost and overwhelmed by the effort is a classic pattern that almost every QiGong beginner falls into. If you get trapped in this cycle, you risk becoming a healing seminar gypsy, moving from one teacher to another and potentially falling victim to spiritual scams. In worse cases, some people fall into a state of delusional mastery, convincing themselves they have powers they haven't actually developed, which can unfortunately alienate those around them. I don't want any of you to go down that path. That is why in this video, I want to clearly explain exactly how to properly acquire the sensation of qi and what kind of practice you truly need to succeed. I have worked with over 25,000 people as a professional QiGong practitioner. But when I first started, I couldn't feel qi at all. However, after much trial and error, I developed a logical system for QiGong. As a result, not only did I master it myself, but every single student in my program is now able to feel this energy. While people often think QiGong is strictly a world of intuition, anyone can master it if it is learned through a structured, clearly defined methodology. I will be explaining the theoretical aspects today. The greatest benefit of learning the theory is that it eliminates slumps. When you understand the underlying mechanism of why things happen, you can identify the cause of any obstacle through logic and handle it calmly. Because we are dealing with an invisible world, having a map of theory is absolutely essential. Conversely, practicing without theory carries significant risks. If you accidentally trigger a powerful surge of energy without knowing the correct methods, you may be unable to control it, which can damage your physical and mental health. Energy can become trapped in the body, leading to irritability, or it can rush to the head, causing headaches, dizziness, or heart palpitations. In more severe cases, you might fall into serious conditions known as Zen sickness, a state of mental and physical distress caused by improper practice, or Kundalini syndrome, which can lead to hallucinations and mental confusion. The difficult part is that when these issues are rooted in energy imbalances, they are often hard to treat through conventional medical institutions. If you practice on your own and simply see no results, that is the best case scenario. However, damaging your health and ruining your life is a mistake you cannot take back. That is why it is more important than anything to proceed safely and systematically based on sound theory. I might have made QiGong sound intimidating, but please don't worry. There are proven correct methods to avoid these risks entirely. By following safe procedures to develop your abilities, you will steadily gain skill, and your overall fortune will naturally improve. You will experience real changes. Your mindset becomes more positive, your health improves, and your entire life begins to shift for the better. Patience is key. The biggest cause of accidents is trying to skip steps in a rush to see results. Please value the process of learning steadily, one step at a time, without rushing. As a professional healer, I have approached QiGong through a logical lens and built my practice through a structured, disciplined journey. As a result, when clients come to me with questions, I can provide clear and precise guidance, such as, "This specific exercise is ideal for your current stage," or "The root cause lies here, so we can resolve it with this approach." In this video, we will focus on the fundamental elements of emitting energy and sensing energy. By gaining a deep understanding of the mechanisms of QiGong, you will become capable of achieving incredible results, from enhancing your natural magnetism to attracting great success in your professional life. Through this channel, I look forward to organizing the principles of QiGong logically and sharing them with all of you in an easy-to-understand way. As I mentioned at the beginning, you don't need innate talent or psychic powers to start QiGong. Since we work with invisible energy, you might think it requires a special sense or heavy use of the right brain. It is true that practicing QiGong sharpens your intuition and activates untapped areas of the brain. As a result, some people do develop the ability to see auras, experience synesthesia, or see a boost in their creative and artistic potential. However, these abilities are not the cause. They are simply the results of your practice. The correct order is, I practiced QiGong, and as a result, I developed better visualization skills. There is no need to obsess over having special powers from the start. In fact, being too fixated on special abilities can make you vulnerable to scams, so please be careful. In the past, the QiGong community emphasized visualization primarily because the underlying mechanisms hadn't been scientifically explained yet. Since the early 2000s, however, breakthroughs in neuroscience and psychology have allowed us to understand QiGong and healing through logical frameworks and psychological principles. In science, reproducibility is essential. By analyzing QiGong logically, it has become clear that because there is a specific mechanism at work, anyone can master it through a systematic approach. Before this scientific interpretation, QiGong was deeply rooted in religious traditions. The standard was copy the master and don't think, feel. In those classical systems, it was assumed that only a few gifted students would ever truly master the secrets. Because the teaching wasn't systematic, only those who were naturally intuitive or artistic happened to succeed. This left a strong impression that talent is everything, but that is no longer the case. Today, the world of QiGong and healing is constantly being updated based on neuroscience and psychology. If you cling to outdated methods without knowing these modern advancements, you miss out on new information and struggle to see real progress. That is why I invite you to temporarily set aside any traditional or religious concepts you've learned. To master the latest techniques, I want you to first embrace the logical, science-based framework of QiGong. Try practicing with this new mindset first. Once you start feeling the energy and seeing tangible results, such as better luck, improved relationships, or even financial gains like an extra $100 or $1,000 in income, then you can decide which worldview you prefer. If you find the mystical, spiritual side more appealing, that's perfectly fine. If you prefer the logical, modern approach with consistent results, you can continue with that. What matters most is getting results first. Why not try getting the results first, and then choosing the worldview that resonates with you? The QiGong I will be explaining is often referred to as modern QiGong or cognitive science-based QiGong. In contrast, practices rooted in traditional religious views are collectively known as traditional QiGong. While traditional styles are incredibly diverse, you can simply think of these as the two main categories for now. Because modern QiGong is based on science, its greatest advantage is that it is simple and highly practical. Think of it like a calculator app on your smartphone. You don't need special training. As long as you follow the set steps, anyone can get an accurate result instantly. Modern QiGong allows you to reach a very high level immediately, without the need for a long apprenticeship. Traditional QiGong, on the other hand, is more like using an abacus. You can perform complex calculations with it if you put in immense effort, but if you just want the result, the app is much more efficient. By learning modern QiGong, you can skip 10 or 20 years of grueling practice. It acts as a shortcut, allowing you to acquire various abilities roughly 100 times faster than older methods. Another drawback of traditional QiGong is that, because it is based on ancient religious views, some of its practices are difficult to accept in a modern lifestyle. For example, there is a traditional concept of training in a graveyard. The logic is that the strong yin energy of the deceased helps amplify your own yang energy by creating a natural resistance. While this might have a theoretical effect, it isn't realistic for most of us. Training in a cemetery at midnight is difficult to sustain and could even lead to trouble with the law. Imagine trying to explain yourself to the police. I'm just here for my QiGong training. It's easy to see how that could be misunderstood. While that is an extreme example, many traditional methods can feel irrational or too burdensome for our current lives. In contrast, while modern QiGong involves some complex theories, it is much faster to learn and perfectly suited for daily life. While it's fine to try traditional methods once or twice out of curiosity, I highly recommend modern QiGong for its practicality and consistency. Science is beginning to uncover the mechanics of QiGong, but we currently understand only about 5% of the full picture. Since QiGong deals with the very essence of life, much of it remains beyond the reach of scientific explanation. However, understanding just this 5% makes a world of difference. Traditional QiGong was often a black box, where only a talented few succeeded, but modern QiGong has evolved into a reproducible skill grounded in scientific evidence. Think of it like boiling water. Water always boils at 100 degrees Celsius, no matter who is heating it. It doesn't boil at 30 degrees Celsius just because you have a nice personality. As long as you follow the correct procedure, anyone can achieve the same result. This is the greatest advantage of a scientific approach. There is no need to be intimidated by the science. This isn't about rote memorization like in school. It's simply a tool to make a complex world easier to understand. In fact, none of my students have ever found it too difficult. They are often surprised by how simple it is. It is thanks to this theory that both I and many of my students were able to master QiGong from scratch in a short time. Of course, explaining things scientifically doesn't strip away the romance or mystery of QiGong. I have personally experienced profound spiritual phenomena, such as the rotation of chakras, Kundalini awakening, and a deep sense of oneness with the universe. This method allows you to explore that world with greater certainty while keeping the spiritual wonder alive, so please follow along with confidence. Now, let's dive into cognitive science, the foundation of modern QiGong. To understand this field, there is one specific term you need to know. In fact, if you grasp this one concept, you've essentially understood 90% of cognitive science. That term is internal representation. So, what exactly does internal representation mean? Right now, you are watching this video. Light hits your eyes, gets converted into electrical signals, and your brain interprets them. What we call the real world is actually a construct generated entirely within your own mind. Simply put, it is just how your brain processes information. Cognitive science reveals that while we feel like we live in an objective, physical reality, we actually live inside a simulation constructed by our minds. This personal reality, how you perceive the world, is your internal representation. This concept is the core of cognitive science and the very essence of QiGong. Cognitive science emerged in the 1980s, and this idea of internal representation actually inspired the movie The Matrix. In the film, the protagonist discovers his life is a simulation created by machines feeding signals directly into his brain. From a cognitive science perspective, our real world functions exactly the same way. In the movie, the hero instantly downloads martial arts skills without any experience and learns to bend the rules of the simulation to perform superhuman feats. Modern QiGong operates on a similar principle. By treating reality as internal programming, we can achieve extraordinary results. The QiGong transmission I will perform later is essentially me uploading a QiGong program directly to your internal representation. Think of it like installing an app on your smartphone. You go from knowing nothing to instantly feeling and emitting energy. This direct installation is why modern QiGong allows you to progress 100 times faster than traditional methods. I will perform the formal transmission later, but honestly, a non-verbal rewriting of your internal data is already happening just by you watching this video. This cognitive mechanism is why simply viewing this content creates a genuine healing effect. QiGong is home to many mysterious phenomena. There was once a popular theory that Qi was actually infrared light or electromagnetic waves, but we now know for certain that this is false. The proof lies in remote healing. QiGong can be sent across vast distances instantly, bypassing physical constraints. I have personally performed remote healing for people as far away as Australia and London from Japan. Despite the distance, they felt the effects immediately with no time lag. If Qi were simply infrared light, it would be no different from a space heater. But if you turn on a heater in the US, it won't warm someone in London. It is physically impossible for a human to generate that much thermal energy. Therefore, QiGong is not a form of physical energy. So why does it work across the globe instantly? It is because the world we perceive is actually an illusion created by our brain and mind. QiGong intervenes directly in this perceived virtual reality to produce results. Think of QiGong as a cheat code in a video game. It is a way to bypass the standard rules by rewriting the program or instantly boosting your stats. Because QiGong acts directly on the virtual reality of our existence, it functions exactly like a cheat. When you practice QiGong or receive healing, you might feel tingling, warmth, or see flashes of light. These are not physical heat or light sources. Rather, your brain is misinterpreting the incoming information as these sensations. Science has shown that the brain cannot distinguish between a physical object and high-fidelity information. There is no fixed, objective reality. Instead, whatever your brain perceives as the most vivid becomes your reality. We call this principle, what is real is real. Essentially, the world you live in is a construct generated by your own brain. This means that if we can rewrite and control what the brain perceives as real, we can change our reality at will. Even things we think are solid, like our own bodies, are fundamentally made of information. By adjusting these informational parameters, your physical reality will naturally change to match your intent. In my beauty QiGong sessions, I help clients achieve visible changes, such as refining facial features or contouring the face. However, unlike physical therapies or facial massages, I never actually touch the client. Instead, I simply transmit Qi. I program the internal representation of their brain with specific data, like contour the face or refine these features. Since the body is fundamentally composed of information, it physically changes to align with that new data. Because QiGong allows us to manipulate information, its potential is limitless. We can work directly on the brain to sharpen your thinking, speed up information processing, and raise your IQ. By installing the right wealth programs, you can increase your income. Every aspect of life can be optimized through QiGong. The idea that our internal representation creates our entire life is very similar to the Buddhist concept of consciousness only. This philosophy suggests that only perception exists, which aligns perfectly with the cognitive science approach to QiGong. Now, there is one more vital phrase I need you to memorize. This is the very definition of the QiGong we practice. The rewriting of internal representation through synesthesia. Please repeat this to yourself until it is deeply ingrained in your mind. To break this down, internal representation is the world as perceived by your mind. Rewriting means reprogramming that world. Synesthesia is a phenomenon where senses blend, like hearing a color or seeing a sound. In this context, think of it as the intersection of information and your physical senses. Since our reality is a virtual world built on information, we cannot touch that data directly. However, we can translate that information into sensory experiences. Feeling a tingling sensation or warmth is simply your brain translating data into a tactile feeling. Seeing auras or glowing chakras is the brain translating information into visual light. In the past, I would sometimes see speech bubbles above people's heads as they spoke. I would see orange light when someone was happy, or blue light during serious conversations. This was my brain visually processing the data of their emotional state. When I perform healing, I might see a cloudy area where an organ is struggling. Once I clear that stagnant information, the area appears to glow. These are all sensory translations of data. You might think this requires a vivid imagination, but these experiences are actually the result of logical training. You do not need innate imaging power. In fact, obsessing over imagination can actually hinder your growth and distract you from the logic. Synesthesia is a byproduct. The logic is the foundation. Many people in the spiritual world prefer vague, fluffy delusions and rush to hear the voice of God. This is why I want you to focus on the logical framework. I believe you are here because you value this rational approach and recognize its true worth, unlike those who are merely seeking a fantasy and refuse to listen to reason. Therefore, you don't need any special talent for visualization. Synesthesia will develop naturally as you progress, so forget about trying to force mental images. Instead, let's focus on exercises based on logic. When you perform these exercises with a solid understanding of the theory, the most important skill you need is observation. You must refine this skill relentlessly. As we've discussed, humans are constantly processing information within the brain and mind. This information processing is a biological phenomenon, which means qi is naturally flowing through your body at all times. Qi isn't something supernatural. It is an inherent part of your system. The only difference between a master and a beginner is whether they have been trained to use it. To train yourself, you must first sharpen your observation skills to recognize the flow of qi within you and how your body and mind react to it. As your observation improves, you will begin to sense the rhythm of your luck and energy. You'll start to intuitively know things like, if I go this way, something good will happen, or this is the right decision for my life. From an outside perspective, people might call you intelligent, high IQ, or simply lucky. In reality, it's just your heightened observation at work. You understand the logic behind your choices, even if it's hard to explain to others. You'll even be able to sense financial opportunities or pick up on subtle social cues, such as a person's unspoken attraction or the pheromones of their subconscious intent. I've personally had moments where my synesthesia was so sharp, I could see a woman's affection for a man as a misty energy flowing from her heart to his. However, sensing everything all the time can be exhausting, so I've learned to switch these perceptions on and off. Relying solely on sensation can also lead to errors, like when your senses are dulled by a cold, which is why the logical framework remains your essential anchor. To build this observation skill, I highly recommend a practice called vipassana. In Buddhism, this is often known as walking meditation. It involves observing every single movement of your body and labeling it with words. For example, when walking, you verbalize your movements. Right heel touching the ground, toes touching, left heel lifting. By focusing your consciousness on your feet and turning these actions into language, you bring unconscious movements into your conscious awareness. This trains your observation in a way that can be applied to everything else in life. When you can notice your shoulder tensing up unconsciously, you gain the power to rewrite that state and tell yourself to relax. This is why walking meditation is so effective. You can apply this to anything. Picking up a plate, applying soap, opening a laptop, or clicking a mouse. Starting with just 5 minutes a day is enough. The challenge is that it's easy to get bored or distracted by thoughts of the past or future. Staying focused on the here and now for 5 minutes is difficult, but it will make your QiGong practice significantly easier. As an extension of Vipassana, observing your breath is also excellent. You don't need special breathing techniques, just observe your natural breath. You'll notice that your body doesn't just move in the front. Your ribs expand sideways, your back moves, and your chest expands upward. You might notice the air flows better on the right side than the left. Identifying where your breath is blocked is key, because those blocks are areas of unconscious tension where qi is stagnant. Masters of QiGong are experts at identifying and removing these subtle blockages, allowing their full potential to flow. Beginners often can't tell if their body is blocked or how the physical movement of breathing translates into internal sensation. Try observing your breath for 1 minute or for a set number of breaths. Focus on questions like, how is my body moving? Or, which part of my lungs fills up first? This simple observation is a direct path to mastering QiGong. After observing your breath with Vipassana, let's move on to a meditative exercise that incorporates QiGong elements. Spotlight meditation. As the name suggests, this involves focusing your consciousness on specific parts of your body, as if shining a spotlight on them. In cognitive science, consciousness is often compared to a spotlight. Whatever it illuminates becomes conscious, while everything else remains in the subconscious. For example, while you are focusing on my voice, the feeling of your chair against your body is subconscious. But if I say, focus on the tip of your nose, your spotlight shifts, and you might start to notice a slight tingling there. When practicing this, it is best to start with your extremities, your hands and feet, because they are much easier to feel than your torso. It's far simpler to move your right pinky finger than it is to consciously sense your 7th rib. Let's try it. Close your eyes and focus your attention on your right foot, from the ankle to the toes. You don't need to look at it. Just try to feel it. You might notice warmth or perhaps some tension. As you concentrate, blood flow increases, and you may feel a tingling sensation of energy or qi gathering there. Once you feel that warmth in your toes, move your spotlight to the middle of your right shin. You should feel the energy shift from your toes to your shin. Some people feel this move instantly, while others feel it travel slowly along the leg. Either way is perfectly fine. Next, move your focus to your right knee. Observe the shape, the warmth, and the tension. For the purpose of this video, we are moving quickly, but when you practice on your own, spend 10 to 20 seconds observing each area. Follow this path, toes to shin to knee to thigh to hip. Then, repeat the process for your left leg and move on to your hands. Palm to wrist, to forearm, to elbow, to upper arm, to shoulder. Practicing this before bed is a great way to relax and improve your sleep quality. It is also excellent training for observing how energy moves within you. Once you can move your consciousness through your limbs easily, you can apply this to more advanced QiGong techniques. For example, you can gather qi at your tailbone and move it up your spine, through the sacrum, lower back, mid-back, and neck, to the top of your head. Then, bring it down the front of your body, forehead to nose to throat to chest to solar plexus to navel. In QiGong, this is called the microcosmic orbit. By circulating energy this way, you can enhance your health and unlock your hidden potential. Remember, the ability to use this spotlight starts with basic observation. This is why we began with Vipassana and breath observation. Once you are comfortable monitoring your body, this spotlight meditation will become a powerful tool in your practice. Now let's move into the exercise of emitting and feeling qi from your hands. Before we begin, I want to share a crucial principle. While this comes from traditional QiGong rather than modern cognitive science, it is an experiential truth that will significantly accelerate your progress. The principle is, where the mind goes, qi flows. Where qi flows, blood follows. This represents the mechanism where focusing your awareness causes qi to gather, which then improves blood circulation, ultimately leading to physical healing. In QiGong, we often obsess over the qi itself, but the source that actually moves the qi is your mind or consciousness. This is why I have emphasized observation and the ability to move your awareness freely. Please keep this mechanism in mind. Now, let's start the exercise to emit and feel qi. Again, what matters is observation, not imagination. If you cannot observe your body as it is, you will fall into the trap of delusion, focusing on a mystical image of qi without getting any real results. Focus on the process and follow the logic. Before we start the physical work, I will perform the transmission, which is a key feature of modern QiGong. By installing the QiGong program into you through this video, I can ensure that you will truly be able to feel the energy. To receive the transmission, please take the transmission pose. Place both palms facing upward in a comfortable position. Relaxation is key. If you are at a desk, rest them loosely on the table or your lap. Shrug your shoulders slightly and let all the tension go. I will now begin the transmission to enable you to emit and feel qi. Alright, that's it. By the way, you can watch this transmission part repeatedly. Each time you do, the program is overwritten and reinforced. If you have high body awareness, you may have felt warmth, pressure, or a tingling sensation in your palms during this transmission. However, remember that qi is experienced through synesthesia. Compared to physical reality, these sensations are faint. It is perfectly fine if you don't feel something intense. In fact, feeling like it might just be my imagination is the correct sensation. As you practice, you will become more sensitive. But if you feel an overwhelming sensation right from the start, your brain might simply be over-responding to high expectations. If you feel a very subtle, faint sensation, you are on the right track. Cherish that feeling. The reason I insist that imagination is unnecessary is that most people have expectations that are far too high. People have strong biases about what qi should be, which often prevents them from using the abilities they already have. When QiGong doesn't go well, it's usually because of over-expectation. Please remember, it starts as a very delicate, subtle sensation. Next, let's move on to the hand preparation exercise. Since your hands are highly sensitive to energy, we will train them to effectively emit and feel qi. Start by resting your hands comfortably. Focus your attention on the warmth of your right palm. Just like in spotlight meditation, you should feel a gathering sensation of heat, a gentle throb, or a tingling in your fingertips. Once you feel this, shift your focus to your left palm. As you observe the temperature and sensation in the left, you will likely feel that qi sensation move from the right side to the left. Take it further by sensing not just the surface of your left palm, but the inside and back of the hand as well. To boost the sensation, mentally divide your palm into 4 quadrants. Focus on the base of your index and middle fingers, then the area below your ring and pinky fingers. Next, focus on the base of the thumb, and finally, the outer edge of the hand. By zooming in on these details, you open up the pathways for qi, creating a much stronger flow than a vague, general focus. Once your hands feel activated, separate them. Keep your posture open and relaxed. Avoid hunching over to concentrate, as that actually closes off your awareness. With a straight spine and soft gaze, move one hand slowly. Set the intention for energy to flow from right to left, then reverse it from left to right. You should feel a tingling or pressure in the receiving hand. The golden rule is to move very slowly. If you rush, the physical sensation of air resistance will mask the subtle feeling of the energy. Imagine moving your hands through warm water, feeling that gentle resistance. This connection between your hands means you are already performing remote QiGong, as the energy travels through space without physical contact. This foundation allows you to direct qi anywhere, whether to heal your internal organs or to awaken your nervous system and hidden potential. Now that you can emit qi, let's discuss personal development. A common trap is becoming obsessed with mystical powers, much like how being desperate for money or romance often pushes those things away. Obsessing over spiritual power creates a bias that hinders your growth. The true path to results is building your physical body. Our consciousness and abilities are supported by our DNA, nerves, and brain. To unlock your subconscious, you must refine the vessel, your physical self. Science confirms that physical exercise grows neural pathways and brain function. If your body is weak and your energy is depleted, you are perceived as low energy, which can lead to social and professional disadvantages. By strengthening your body and filling it with qi, you become naturally resilient and charismatic, attracting better fortune without trying so hard. I want you to approach this with the mindset of tempering your body into a powerful tool. In traditional QiGong, humans are seen as conduits between heaven and earth, a concept known as the principle of heaven, earth, and man. We are essentially pipes for infinite energy. I have modernized this concept into a specific technique I usually only share in paid seminars. The hose technique. This allows you to function as a high-pressure conduit for energy instantly. Let me explain a technique called the hose. First, imagine a fuel nozzle, like the ones at a gas station hanging right in front of you. This is your hose that provides infinite qi. The movement is similar to pantomime. Grab the hose and firmly stroke your arm from the shoulder down to your fingertips, visualizing the infinite energy flowing through your body. This is the core of the hose exercise. To see if this actually works, let's verify it by comparing the left and right sides of your body. First, pick one shoulder to leave untouched. Rotate that shoulder slowly, forward and back, and take note of its range of motion and how it feels. It's important to move slowly and observe your body closely, like a meditation, to catch the subtle details. Now, perform the hose on the other shoulder. Grab the infinite qi and stroke your arm from shoulder to fingertip 3 to 5 times. You will likely notice that the treated shoulder now sits lower than before. Since shoulders drop when they relax, this is physical proof that your tension has been released. If you rotate it, you'll find the movement is much smoother and free of any catching. Confirming these physical changes, rather than just imagining them, is a key secret to mastering QiGong. About 10 years ago, when I was a beginner healer, I actually performed this exercise 10,000 times in a single day. I thought, if doing it once is effective, doing it 10,000 times must be incredible. I did 5,000 reps on each arm. By the time I hit 2,000, I wanted to cry and wondered why I was doing it, but I pushed through to the end. As a result, my qi output increased dramatically, and I gained the absolute confidence that I could succeed as a professional. By stroking 10,000 times, I believe I cleared the pathways in my arms and improved the circulation of my entire body, changing my very constitution. More importantly, I realized on an unconscious level that I can truly use QiGong. You don't need to do 10,000 times a day, but I highly recommend a focused effort, perhaps 100 times a day for 3 months. This work can be applied to your entire body. Use the energy pipe to stroke your abdomen, to strengthen your internal organs or your lower Dantian. Stroking your chest or sides will strengthen your middle Dantian. You can also use it on your legs, hips, and back. However, please remember that the skin on your face is delicate. For that area, simply direct the qi without physical stroking. By practicing this, you can soothe shoulder pain and maintain a strong, energy-filled state. If you want to change your life or unlock your potential, please face your body and incorporate this hose exercise into your routine. While these exercises alone will open your energy pathways, we can unlock even more potential by training the Dantians. Most people are familiar with the lower Dantian in the abdomen, but in the world of QiGong, there are actually 3 centers: the lower, middle, and upper. The lower Dantian, located below the navel, is physically associated with the small intestine. When this center is well formed, it fills the surrounding organs with qi, supporting overall health and even helping to ease menstrual discomfort. It also engages your deep core muscles, improving your posture and athletic performance. Conversely, if your lower dantian is depleted, energy tends to rush to your head, making you prone to panic. Since this center functions as your energy tank, a deficiency can make you appear weak or easy to overlook by others. It acts as a stabilizer, an emotional brake. If you find yourself prone to worry or feel that others don't take you seriously, prioritize training this center. The most effective method is using the hose technique. Visualize secret chi and carefully stroke your lower abdomen. Moving your body makes it much easier to maintain focus and see results compared to static meditation. Next is the middle dantian, located in the center of the chest. This area governs your emotions, your drive, motivation, and capacity for love. When this center is lacking, life can feel dull, and you may find it difficult to connect with others. When it is full, however, you gain the vitality to pursue your goals with passion. Humans also possess a function called homeostatic synchrony, where our subconscious states, heart rates, and breathing naturally align with those around us. If your middle dantian is active, your positive, joyful energy becomes contagious. People will naturally find themselves drawn to you. My recommendation for improving relationships is to first establish stability in the lower dantian, then build your charm through the middle dantian. Finally, we have the upper dantian at the forehead. This corresponds to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and reason. Often called the third eye, its activation sharpens your thinking and dramatically improves your intuition and learning ability. It is essential for future planning and professional success. However, because this center is so powerful, you must be cautious. Focusing purely on the upper dantian without a solid lower dantian foundation can cause energy to rise to the head, leading to panic or extreme hypersensitivity that interferes with daily life. Since the skin on your face is delicate, we use awareness rather than stroking. Close your eyes, lightly touch your forehead, and look slightly upward behind your eyelids for 1 to 2 minutes. This naturally draws your focus and your chi to the area. I once spent 5 hours straight on this specific exercise because I was so determined to get smarter. As a result, my vision became distorted and I saw strange lights. I actually worried I had broken my brain. It took a full day of rest to recover. Please prioritize balance over greed. Visualize your energy system as a pyramid. The vital lower dantian makes up 60%, the middle dantian 30%, and the sharp upper dantian just 10%. Following this ratio will ensure you progress safely and effectively. In addition to the 3 dantians, I want to explain the most important structure in the body, the median line. This is the central pole that pierces through your body. History-altering geniuses like Mozart or Steve Jobs all possessed an exceptionally developed axis, one said to extend beyond the body and into the far reaches of the universe. By training this axis, you raise your perspective and unlock your unique genius. I personally saw my musical talent and business success skyrocket after I began training my axis. The physical reality of this axis is your spine. Your spine houses the nerves directly connected to your brain. Developing the spine is equivalent to developing the brain. Furthermore, the spiritual oneness experience, where cosmic energy enters through the crown of the head, only becomes possible when the line of the spine is clear and open. However, this vital pathway often becomes blocked by stagnant energy or negative emotions. For example, the area behind the solar plexus is often linked to money, the sacrum to sexual charisma, and the area behind the heart to relationships. Since it's difficult to physically stroke your own back, I'll introduce a unique QiGong work. Spinal healing. The method might sound a bit shocking. First, you touch your tailbone and the top of your head. Then, in your mind, you pull out your spine. Once you have this imaginary spine in front of you, you crush it with your hands. You might worry about destroying your own bone, but rest assured, you aren't touching the physical bone. You are destroying the old information and outdated self-images clinging to your spine. By breaking it down, you allow your system to update to a better state. Since extracting the spine can be difficult at first, I will now remotely perform a formal transmission of this technique. This is usually reserved for paid courses, but I want to give it to you here. Please place your palms up, close your eyes, and relax. All right, you're all set. You now have the program to extract and work on your own spine. To make this work effective, you need a sense of presence backed by anatomical knowledge. Your spine consists of 26 bones, the tailbone and sacrum at the base, 5 lumbar vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae, and 7 cervical vertebrae. Before we start, let's test your body. Stand up and slowly twist your torso. Note how far you can turn and where you feel resistance. Now, touch your tailbone and the top of your head and pull your spine out. A real spine is more than half your height, so don't make it tiny in your mind. Pull it out at full scale first. Then, shrink it down to a manageable size. Starting from the bottom, use your hands to crush the tailbone, the sacrum, the lumbar, the thoracic, and finally the cervical vertebrae and the skull. Once you've crushed the old data, twist your body again. You should find that you move much more smoothly and your head feels lighter. This crushing method is also great for localized pain. If your lower back hurts, just pull out that specific section of data and crush it. Combined with the hose technique, this will establish a clear energy pathway and make advanced works like the microcosmic orbit surprisingly easy. Practice this once a day. In a year, your abilities will be unrecognizable. Let's wrap up with a final review. We've covered a lot today, so let's look back at the key points. 1. Modern QiGong is science-based. The QiGong we discussed today is rooted in cognitive science, not traditional mysticism. The most important skill is not imagination, but observation, the ability to calmly observe your own body. Phenomena like seeing auras or chakras are simply results of your brain's latent potential being unlocked through heightened observation. You don't need to force yourself to see them. They will come naturally. 2. The concept of internal representation. At the core of this practice is the concept of internal representation. The world we perceive is a projection of our mind, built from information much like the world in the Matrix. QiGong is essentially a hacking technique that intervenes in this informational space to rewrite your internal representation. By mastering this, you can shape your ideal world and your ideal self at will. 3. The body is the gateway to the mind. Many people struggle to change their hearts or minds through willpower alone. However, the body is connected to the brain, and the brain is connected to the mind. That is why the most effective shortcut is physical development. To facilitate this, we introduced 3 specific exercises. The hose, stroking the body to clear energy pathways. The 3 Dantians, building your physical, emotional, and intellectual centers. Spinal healing, crushing, and resetting the information in your central axis. 4. Awakening your natural genius. We are all inherently connected to the universe through secret qi, and infinite energy is already flowing through us. You don't need to try to become someone else. By removing internal blockages and deeply observing your body and mind, your original extraordinary abilities will naturally awaken. Today's video was an introduction for beginners on how to emit qi and develop your potential. However, the possibilities of QiGong are vast, ranging from business applications and professional healer training to beauty QiGong for things like facial contouring and posture. I share deeper, more advanced information in my free email newsletter. If you are ready to formally develop your chakras, improve your charisma, or refine your physical beauty, please make sure to sign up. Thank you for staying with me through this long video. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.